'Tis the season to be spooky. It's Halloween, my friends. You might be watching this a day after Halloween on November 1st. If that's the case, I'm a fake and I'm a phony, and you should unsubscribe to me and never watch me again. You know what I used to go as for Halloween sometimes? A bat. Huh? Not even Batman. You know, I would just go, you know, like the animal, the bat. I would just go as a bat. I don't know how common this was. I don't think I ever saw another kid that ever went as a bat. I'll try and find a photo when I'm editing, but if I can't, I look a little something like this. What the hell is even that? I'm gonna use AI, so if it's absolutely horrific, I'm not sorry, because it's Halloween. We're supposed, that's like the whole point, we're supposed to be scared. You know what else is scary? Women. Nope, wrong thing. Addiction. Addiction is scary. Video game addiction, we're going to be talking about in this video. We're going to be going to a very scary place that is called Reddit. Gaming is ruining my marriage. Hey friends, I just feel like I need to vent to someone, so here it goes. Hey, why am I currently here at this very desk filming this very video? It's so that I can be your shoulder to cry on, so pop your head there. I'm just a nice guy, actually, is what I am. I, 27 female, have been with my husband, 30 male, for 10 years. He's always been the outdoorsy, fishing, four-wheeling camping type since day one. That's a big part of what made me fall in love with him. We camped together, went for weekly hikes, road trips, etc. all the time. We're best friends, we watched TV together nightly, played cards, etc. He's my everything, our marriage has been good, we have one child together, and he's been an amazing dad. This is incredibly wholesome, so what can possibly go wrong? Usually, when people ask what can go wrong, things go wrong. So have I just jinxed myself here? Last year, things changed. I have. His buddy, who's a massive gamer, convinced my husband to buy a PS5. Do I love gaming? Absolutely not. Did I speak up about it? No. It was his money and something he could do in the winter. We live in Canada, or at least that's what he said at the time. It started off as a few hours here and there, no biggie. I had absolutely no issue with it, even an hour or whatever a day. However, now it's honestly all day from the minute he gets up until 2 to 4 a.m. So immediately, it sounds to me, now I've got a pair of ears, which I'm not currently using, I'm using my eyes. It appears to me, I should say, that this man has become addicted. Very unfortunate, we'll keep going. He was a hard worker who lost his job recently, but the gaming excessively started before that, the minute he got off work until the middle of the night. So she said that this addiction began before he even lost his job. Video games become addictive for many reasons, but a lot of these reasons have to do with how video games sort of trick our brain, trick our psychology into believing that we are achieving and working and ultimately conquering. If you pair this illusion of progression and conquest with the very masculine, natural, I should say, masculine urges to progress and conquer, you can imagine that you end up stimulating that reward system in your brain quite a good bit. It can feel quite addictive. When you've always been the outdoorsy kind of type, you know, you've never really dabbled in video games, and then you do, you can imagine so much more stimulating than, you know, I don't know, going fishing or something. So I can't blame him spending all his time on it as like depression over his job. Of course, that's going to play a factor, right? The fact that he's, you know, definitely very upset about losing his job, that's going to strengthen his addiction. What he should do in this depressive state is get right back on the job hunt for, you know, jobs in real life that actually serve real people. Start pursuing his passions and find another reason to feel purposeful in this world. The issue here though, the kind of little cheeky paradox that we're in, is video games are already ticking those natural masculine urges for him to feel purposeful, because video games are the illusion of just that. So the most ideal thing for this man to do in order to stop feeling so depressed is to find a new purpose in life, find a new job, and start heavily pursuing it, becoming a, you know, a really hard-working man. However, video games are kind of already tricking his brain into believing that he's occupied by those, you know, natural feelings of fulfillment, if that makes sense. I work 2 jobs and also run my own business full time. Financially, I'm the only one supporting our household and taking care of everything. So I see this a lot in relationship dynamics, you know, being the expert I am, where the dynamic that was previously established and followed throughout basically the entirety of the relationship begins to fall apart because either one, or even worse, both partners start to deteriorate, start to let themselves go, fall off, maybe they become addicted or something. One of the most crucial components of a healthy relationship is having established responsibilities, ensuring that you have both made it clear who is responsible for what and are both happy with it. This can be in the form of traditional gender roles, or even reversed gender roles, or sort of mixed with the both, whatever kind of works with your dynamic, or splitting everything 50-50, whatever you prefer. What's happened here is their dynamic has consisted of both of them being responsible for financial provision over the last 10 years, but obviously now this bloke has become addicted to video games, he's fallen off his responsibilities. This is obviously bad, because we'd all like to, think that we all live in this fairy tale, and people should love each other for just their personalities alone, and that's all, which is bullshit. If this obviously continues, then the partner who is feeling overworked and neglected and feels like all of the responsibility that was previously a 50-50 case is now all on them, they're going to resent the other person, if that makes sense. I don't doubt that this woman loves this man, but she's going to start resenting him. She's also gonna lose attraction and such, because, well, sitting around and playing video games all day, just not really attractive. You won't leave the house to get groceries or help with anything. I'm exhausted, let alone coming home to a messy house. Dishes are never done. The grass is overgrown. My laundry is piling up. My kid not doing much of anything because he won't get off the damn game to even go outside and play with her. Yeah, so once again, she's gonna start to resent him a little bit, regardless of if it's even his fault. Nothing is done unless I'm doing it, and quite frankly, if I wanted to do everything myself, what's the point of having a partner in life? I sleep alone because he's always downstairs. I talk to him but get ignored due to the headset and strangers being more important. She's beginning to feel neglected by him. Not a very nice feeling for any human. I'm going to explain something to you gentlemen out there. There's a difference between prioritizing your hard, meaningful work over your relationship, and as a result, maybe coming home late some days, or completely zoning out when your girlfriend's telling you about a new fashion show or something that's going on when you're trying to work, and completely ignoring your girlfriend to shout naughty words at 13-year-olds online. There's just something more justifying and even attractive to most women about the first option as opposed to the second. I don't know, call me old-fashioned. I'm just fed up. I'm not attracted to this at all. Yeah, so at least she's being honest, right? This isn't typically very attractive to women. Very shocking. I know, this is groundbreaking news, actually. I think this should be broadcast everywhere. My kid gets no time with her dad all over Call of Duty. The whole thing makes me sick to my stomach. I bring up the amount of hours he's on it, and he just laughs and says it's no big deal. So he's clearly unaware of whether or not this is even an addiction, or at the very least he's coping. Nothing changes. All big caps. I'm being shouted at. I'm taking this as an attack. This is what you get, folks, for trying to help, for trying to... Let that sink in. I'm on the verge of leaving if something doesn't change. I feel alone, tired, and heartbroken. This would be the unfortunate outcome of a scenario like this if it went on for too long. Once the responsibilities and promises of a relationship begin to deteriorate, alongside a lot of other, really important aspects like communication and attraction, you can imagine there just isn't very much holding that relationship up. There isn't very much stopping that relationship from just crashing. What should I do? Sincerely, a burnt out wife. This is very sad. Let's go to the comments. Let's see if the people who have read it are very helpful. My guess is going to be no. Take the power chord. Simple. Treat him like a child if that's how he's acting. Awful advice from the get-go. Don't listen to this. This will create toxicity, which you basically want to stay away from always in your life, because it just sucks, and it's just a headache, and there's nothing good about being toxic in anything ever. If you try a whole bunch of positive ways to communicate and get him to stop or control himself, and none of them work, you basically have three options. One, you make the tough decision to leave him and endure that pain sooner rather than later. Two, you stay with him and either accept that he will be like this forever, or start to cope and convince yourself with a bunch of false hope that one day he'll just become aware. Three, you start doing really stupid shit like this, because you're really desperate for this other person to understand, and then you transition yourself into a really toxic dynamic and you end up traumatizing your child or something. I recommend the first option. Of course, if regarded you've tried a bunch of positive, good things and this just doesn't nothing seems to work. Some people will disagree with me, but the only way to get him back is to leave. He has to know you're serious. You have a lot of responsibility and already feel the weight on your shoulders just piling up. You also have needs that need to be met. If he won't do it, I will. I'm recently single and would love to date a woman that has all that you have and want, but I'm in the States, Texas to be exact. You, my friend, flimsy pirate 6112, you are what I like to call a stud. Why do I think you're a stud? Because this was smooth. This was some game, actually, if I've seen game. The reason why I don't agree with this advice is because he says he has to know you're serious. What does it matter whether or not he knows you're serious if you've already made the huge decision to leave him and break up your family for flimsy pirate over here? Leaving him for the sake of proving that you're serious means you still have some minuscule amount of hope that he will change from you doing that and making that decision, which is just stupid. It's idiotic. You should never kind of half leave someone, or, you know, pretend to leave someone without a full intention just to get them to understand something. You should talk and talk and talk and try and try and try. And if you get to the point where you genuinely feel like nothing is working and you're just not going to be able to be happy with this person and put up with this person, you sit down and you make the decision of whether or not to break up. But you really sit down and you really ponder it, because you also have a child. You have to do some sort of reflecting, some sort of journaling, some sort of, you know, maybe get some therapy, maybe get some counselling. You have a child, you have a family. You know, this isn't, you can't just do silly shit like taking the power cord and, you know, leaving your entire family for flimsy pirate over here. When you've gone through all the reflecting, and you know you've come up with the decision, and the decision is made that you're going to leave, you don't have any plans to go back, because breaking up should be a final resort. Breaking up your family should be like the bottom of the barrel. You've tried everything else, nothing else works. You really are going to be miserable, and maybe your kid also is going to be very miserable for the rest of your life. You have to leave. Not some sort of manipulative power tactic to get the other person to understand. Just doesn't work. You'll find yourself way down the line in such a pickle, and it would just be awful. Pillow Man just says hide it, so don't listen to him either. This is a very sad situation, because they've been together for 10 years and they have a whole child together, as opposed to a half child. Because if they had a half child, we'd probably have to take some more serious action than just making a YouTube video. We'd probably have to get in contact with the FBI. Every way this woman feels is valid, in my opinion. The issue isn't so much that he's fallen into this addiction, because they've been together for a decade, and believe it or not, as humans, we're not always perfect. You know, we do let ourselves go, and we're not always performing at our very highest constantly, because we're not perfect. It's more so that he isn't aware or educated on just how bad this addiction is, and video game addiction in general. It isn't seen the same as cocaine and, you know, alcohol and more specifically gambling, because gambling's a behavioral addiction just like video games. It isn't as widely spoken about, so here's what I would do. Think back to how this man has been for the past decade of your relationship. Was he consistent, providing in some way, pure, rational? Did he have a lot of these? Has he been a good man, basically? If you conclude that he has actually been a good man for you, next, try and put yourself into his shoes. Maybe try doing a little bit of research of your own, if you have time, into video game addiction. Next, you want to find a way to communicate his problem with him. He needs to understand just what's happened to him and how it's affecting his family. And if you previously concluded that he is a good man, he will use this newfound knowledge and awareness to change this burdening issue that has come upon you and your family. You can do this by convincing him to have some sort of online coaching for somebody who's maybe a professional in video game addiction, or you know, some sort of marriage counselling. I don't think this situation has to be as bad as some of these comments have made it out to be, flimsy pirate, or even as I might have made it out to be if I had. Very sorry about that. With a healthy bit of communication and motivation, this could be a mere hurdle in your relationship. Love guru here. Let's go on to the next one. Video games ruining our sex life. What is it with the word ruining? I've been with my boyfriend for over 2 years, but we've only lived together about 8 months. Before we lived together, sex was rare and amazing, but now it's just treated as the norm and is losing excitement for me. My boyfriend had been cutting back on the video games and doing things with me, like going to the gym and out for dates, but recently he's been sick and we've been temporarily tight on money, leading to staying home and all night video games. First thing I want to point out, a little difference from this post to the previous post, is she said that her boyfriend had previously been cutting back on video games, meaning that he's been exposed to them in his life, this is important, don't worry, it's very important. He could have possibly been addicted before, and I would guess that he was addicted before, because if he's having to cut back on the video games, it means that he's doing too much of the video games, and most people aren't, you know, consciously aware of just how damaging video games are and how easily they do become addiction. People aren't, you know, autistically regulating how long they spend on video games in order to ensure that it doesn't become an addiction. So I can make a safe guess, I think. This is important because if any of you at home have never tried a little bit of, you know, a little bit of nose candy, a little bit of the sniff sniff.
What on earth are you talking about?
The white snow, some might call it. That's what my dealer calls it anyway. I'm kidding. I've never in my life. If you've never tried cocaine, I can take a little gamble, I can take a lucky guess, a little swing in the dark, that you have never been addicted before. Not only have you never been addicted, but you're also not currently addicted, probably. I don't know. In order to become addicted to something, you obviously first have to know what it feels like, because we don't become addicted to the powder. You know, we don't become addicted to the pixels on the screen. We become addicted to how those things make us feel. So this guy's case is different from the guy in the first post, because in this case, this guy has an increased chance of becoming re-addicted because he already knows what it feels like. When you've previously been addicted to something, or you've just tried something and it didn't even become an addiction, for the most part, the way those things made you feel never fully get forgotten. You can definitely temporarily forget and, you know, silence those cravings for a certain amount of time. But what tends to happen is when you get back into a really tough position in your life, you tend to not want to be in that tough position. You tend to not want to feel the negative feelings that come with that tough position. And so the memories of the feelings of the things that you've tried before and the addictions that you previously had, they get remembered and they get craved. She said that they've recently been low on money, or tight on money, leading to staying home and playing video games, which is obviously a very tough situation. And so he's gonna begin getting those cravings again. I really don't mind so much that he plays, but it sucks to get hot and go approach him only to find I have to wait half an hour for him to finish a game. Also, I've just realized this post is from 13 years ago. So who knows? We'll keep going for anybody who might find themselves in a similar predicament. I can imagine that would suck. A feminine woman's feelings are kind of like a colander. You know what a colander is? The little bowl with holes in that you typically use it to drain pasta and such. You can pour water in it for weeks and months and years, and it's not going to fill up. The water's never going to be enough to patch up those holes and to keep the colander full. Similarly, you can compliment a woman so many times, drown her in compliments for weeks and months and years, and it's that colander of her feelings. It's not gonna patch up. It's not gonna be full. You kind of constantly have to top it up. This isn't to say that the things you do to make your girlfriend feel pretty and happy and lovely are completely useless and completely short-term, because that's not the case, because women are humans, and they can remember most of the time unless they have dementia. So this isn't to say that all the nice things that you've ever done, will ever do, will eventually get forgotten, because that's not the case. But what I am saying is, in order to make your woman feel beautiful and allow her to thrive, you do have to top up these feelings basically constantly. There will be some men out there that will hear this information and they'll be like, oh, freaking women, dude, are so unfair. Women are so, am I right, guys? Women are so unfair. And then there will be some guys out there that will hear this information and they'll say, oh, well, you know, this kind of sucks a little bit. I suppose this does suck a little bit. But at the end of the day, I love women and I love everything a woman has to offer to this world. And, you know, I actually came from a woman. You know, my mother was a woman. And I also probably don't want to just be gay. And so I'm going to sort of channel this information and put it into the category of just another very, very beautiful, admirable thing, aspect, trait of a feminine woman, and I'm going to adore it. Because there are a lot of positives that come with this. It means that when you are doing things right, and you are, constantly making her feel lovely and making her thrive and everything, she will literally die for you. She will be by your side forever. She will fight for you. She will lie for you. Another point I want to pull up, kind of like what I said with the previous post, there is a difference between declining or postponing sex so that you can, do something that is higher on your list of priorities, like working, and being meaningful, being purposeful, and postponing or declining sex so that you can scream at 12-year-olds on Fortnite. There's just a difference. I don't know, you can call me old-fashioned again for the second time if you like, but there is just a difference. My third point from this is 3 points now from this one line. Fellas, just take a moment to imagine how sex is for a woman. She's literally opening herself up, her most vulnerable parts to you, and giving herself to you in a way, trusting you with the most vulnerable parts of herself. It's a lot different for a woman than it is a man. On top of that, think of how many unrealistic beauty standards there are for women. It might not take much to make a beautiful woman feel incredibly ugly. Even if you've complimented her a trillion times before, the feminine and its feelings are very short term. When she's got dressed up and attempted to seduce you, and you've basically told her to wait because the video game is more important and more exciting than her, basically more sexy than her in that moment, there is no doubt that she will feel incredibly unattractive. By that point in time, I'm not turned on anymore. I can't imagine you would be, because you would feel less sexy than pixels on a screen. And a little bummed out that he wasn't excited to get with me. Not sure what I can do, but the passion is seriously going downhill, though the laughter and comfort of the relationship is still there. Advice: edit. Although I do play certain games with him, this one is a no-go, as I would royally suck at it. In brighter news, I just masturbated. Okay, alright. Then he gladly joined in, problem solved. Maybe not problem solved, actually. Maybe that's like a little band-aid on the situation, but I wouldn't say that's a problem solved. Before we read the comments, I have an astounding 7 subscribers on this channel, each of whom I'm incredibly grateful for, of course. Consider making that number 8, or even 9, or even 10, actually, if you like what you're hearing and you want to continue consuming content that helps you optimize your life and just the happiest life possible, because the more you know, the easier life becomes. Let's take a look at some of the comments. If he has been sick, he is probably not feeling like having sex because he is not feeling 100%. That's a good point, but to that, I'd say tell her. If you're in a tough place in your life and you're both aware of it, she's probably gonna understand if you speak to her and you communicate to her and you say, listen, I'm not feeling too great tonight, I'm sick and we're poor, and I just kind of wanna game with the lads, with the fellas, with the geezers back there. I just want to crack open a few pints and play a little bit of Valorant, or I don't know if anyone still plays Valorant. Communication will make this a lot better. It tends to make a lot of things actually a lot better. SC2. I don't know what that is. Is that a game? Like abbreviation. Issue probably isn't video games, probably something else. Just get him out of the house more. Being shut in and broke can lead to tons of video games, but also lack of confidence or depression from inability to provide could be at heart. Go to a $3 pitch a day or dollar theatre or some shit once Monday to Friday. Have a thing with friends like burger night at the pub or something. This is a good comment. I like this one. I know firsthand how depressing it feels as a man when you have the beliefs that you have, you have the mindset that you have, but you aren't doing enough, or you feel like you aren't doing enough. It definitely affects libido, confidence and motivation. Getting out more would definitely be a good part of the solution. However, we still need to cross that gap of getting him aware of the fact that he is addicted, and the fact that video game addiction is as bad as it actually is, and he needs to detox himself or take some sort of measures to become unaddicted. We need to cross that step first before we get him outside and get him motivated to do anything other than to just latch to these video games for any sort of feeling. Still a very good comment though. It's my favorite one so far. I recommend dressing like Lara Croft. Great suggestion. How about Captain Quark from the Rack series? How about him? My advice for you two lovely people as a 6-year-old boy, I would have been at the time of this post having been made, is for this man to find a new purpose in this world and become very hardworking. I believe this man should educate himself on the illusions of video games and begin to master a new line of work. My advice is similar to the first guy because it really does come down to two things: awareness and willingness. You must first actually know what's going on with you. You know, you need to first be educated and become aware of what's happening to you, and then next you need to be willing through motivation, but mainly discipline. You need to build some discipline to fix this issue, to become unaddicted, to you know, help yourself. My 22 female fiance, 25 male, now we're getting into this is like Reddit. This actually feels like Reddit now. Keeps shifting into but what is that? Bokoblin. Just searched it up. Goblin, I think it is. I think it's from Zelda. And it's ruining my relationship. Hi Reddit, using a throwaway because my fiance uses Reddit for date ideas and whatnot. I met my fiance, I'll call him Mike, in college, and we instantly clicked. I know it sounds a little ridiculous, but he really was / maybe still is the man of my dreams. That doesn't sound ridiculous at all. That sounds incredibly wholesome and very realistic. Our sense of humor is similar, we have a lot of common interests, this one is important, and our family / friends all see us as one big family. We've already started planning the wedding, and this is honestly why I can't just dump him. I recently introduced Mike to Breath of the Wild. I've been a Zelda fan since I was old enough to work a console, so the franchise is really important to me, and I wanted to show him something I like so that we can share it together. Now, you guys might not like me for this. You guys may, you may even honestly send me hate for it, which I wouldn't really like if you did that. I've never played Zelda in my life, ever. I was a PlayStation kid, right? I grew up on Ratchet and Clank and Crash Bandicoot and Uncharted and God of War. These were that was my little corner. You know, I say little corner, huge corner actually. Everybody also grew up on those. I didn't grow up on Nintendo, and so that's why I didn't know what a Bokoblin was. The problem is that he's taken some weird obsession with the Bokoblins, which are basically little pig monsters, and he started imitating them as a hobby. This is not looking good so far because this is, well, you know, who knows? Who knows? Who am I to judge, actually? I shouldn't judge. He walks around our apartment with his arms in this weird combat stance. Think that one meme with the really buff dog. Not understanding any of this, by the way. Don't get these references. Shoot me. But that would hurt if you shoot me with a gun. Or a Nerf gun. If you shot me with a Nerf gun, that would probably be playful. Growling and snorting in a strangely game-accurate way. Sometimes he'll turn to me and say, I'm shifting into Bokoblin mode, and then assume the stance and run out of the room. He waits under the covers of our bed, making those horrid noises, and he even does it in public, in the grocery store. It's gotten us more than a few strange looks from cashiers, and I'm mortified every time I hear it. This is honestly ruining both my relationship and my favourite video game. It's even ruining my sex life. Yeah, I can imagine so. I can't see him without imagining those noises and that weird arms raised stance. He's even started workshopping a moblin mode in all other areas. He's the perfect fiance, kind, attentive, and very attractive. He takes me on dates, remembers all important anniversaries, and surprises me with flowers and other cute stuff on random occasions. I thought that sharing Breath of the Wild with him would be a way for us to become closer through another mutual interest, but I never imagined that it would create such a strange problem. I've tried subtly talking to him about it, but he just hasn't gotten the hint. I know it would break his heart if he knew how annoying and frankly unnerving I find this little habit, so I don't want to make it sound like this is a deal breaker. If I had to put up with Bokoblin mode for the rest of my life, I would do it for this guy, but that's really a last resort. Reddit, what do I do? Something tells me this one's fake, but at the end of the day, it is Reddit, so probably not. My 19 male advice for you, unaged, 22 female, would be tell him, even if it hurts him, because he's a 25-year-old man, and you guys are talking about marriage. So, and he should be able to stand there as you tell him, actually you're being a huge tit. This isn't an addiction. Oh, okay, maybe it is. I don't know, it could be something more weird than what we see on the surface. Let's assume it isn't. You are both adults. He is in his mid-20s, and you're about to get married or something. Okay, so you started planning your wedding. Nonetheless, you're talking about marriage, and you can't communicate with him about the fact that he's making silly pig noises. It's ridiculous. If it really hurts him, and he starts to get a little bit sad. Oh, my girlfriend doesn't like the fact that I make funny pig noises in the supermarket. Then I think he needs to grow a pair of balls. I'm just gonna listen. No, that's a little bit hard. Realistically, I think that's the case. This might come as a little shock to you guys out there, but acting goofy, a little bit quirky, a little bit unfiltered, actually, dare I say. I might go as far as to say unfiltered, is not always going to be incredibly attractive to women. It can be, if you're in a relationship, and you both got very similar humor, and that's kind of she sees it very clearly as it's funny. It actually does charm her. In this case, obviously it doesn't. There aren't going to be a lot of girls out there who you can be with and you can joke with them just as easily as you can with, say, your guy friends, how you would, over the game, over the microphone. God, I sound so old. Over the game, really? Women tend to be attracted to more sensible men. Most of the time, anyway, obviously. I don't think any women in this world actually are attracted to a man without sense of humour. I guess what I'm trying to say here, and I'm getting myself in a little bit of a cobweb because it's Halloween and spiders are to do with Halloween because I guess they're scary, is you can be funny without acting like a complete tit and embarrassing yourself and your girlfriend in supermarkets, in front of the cashiers and in front of everyone. You can be funny without doing that, and that's the best way to be funny. You can imagine one guy, he cracks a little smile, he says a little joke, he gets whole squad laughing, he gets his girlfriend laughing, she genuinely, authentically finds him funny, she thinks he's hilarious. And then the other guy, who's, video game addicted, he cracks a joke, except it's not a joke, he's actually just acting like a pig, like a little goblin in the supermarket. One is Riz, and one is not Riz. Remember, humour is a form of charisma that so many men screw up. I've been Ray, and if you don't subscribe, I'm going to show up to your house in a bat costume. Bye.